All right, let's start with that top story. The regional leader of the Patriotic Alliance, Bruce Nimmerhoudt, says he's being framed. He's been arrested for political sabotage. He's appeared in the Roodepoort Magistrates Court for bail. He's also accused of being one of the first people to incite public violence during the week of unrest in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. eNCA reporter Barry Bateman has been following this case. He joins us now for the very latest. Hi there, Barry. So we saw Bruce Nimmerhoudt in court. When he first appeared, it was on incitement to violence charges, if I'm not mistaken. Now new charges have been added. What are those new charges, and why is he saying he's being framed?
Yeah, good afternoon, Sally. Well, the new charges related to the Terrorism and Related Activities Act, which has been included. The exact section was not mentioned in court, but the effect of this, Sally, was that when he appeared last week, it was a Schedule 1 offence. It was relatively minor. With the inclusion of this additional terrorism-related charge, it increased the charge to be heard as a Schedule 5, which created an onus upon the applicant to show why it is in the interest of justice that he should be released on bail. So it was a significantly higher bar that had to be met so that he can get bail. Bruce Nimmerhoudt says, he's not the right man. He is being framed here. He says that having listened to this voice note, he says it is not his voice. He rejects any suggestion that he was involved in this. He says he was actually sent it by one of the members of the party, and out of a courtesy, he forwarded on to a larger group of the Patriotic Alliance members. And he had all the intentions of the following morning to go to the local police station, Randfontein, and speak to the station commander there to raise his concerns and ensure that this violence does not come to reality. He also says that as a party, they had adopted a position that was against the rioting and looting, and that they had themselves rallied community members to go and protect the malls and infrastructure in their communities. So it is entirely an irony that he finds himself standing in the dock accused of these particular charges. So he rejects that entirely. He says it's not his voice, it's against the party's instruction, and he should be found not guilty.
I mean, that sounds pretty convincing. Before I ask you about what the state has said, I just want to ask you about these new charges. You say, so now they've added terrorism and related activities. Is it still all related to this voice note, or did the state indicate if they have new charges or new evidence, rather?
No new evidence, Sally. It all relates to this particular voice note that was circulated last week, or 2 weeks ago on the Thursday. It came to light that this person in this particular voice note was calling for the attack on malls on the West Rand, so Roodepoort, Randfontein, those areas. It all relates to that. There's no suggestion whatsoever that there's any new evidence that has been presented.
All right. So the state is calling the investigating officer to testify. How sure are they of their case, particularly in the light of Nimmerhoudt's adamant denials?
Well, the state claims it has a strong case, but it didn't stand up quite too well under cross-examination. One of the aspects that they had to concede firstly is that, now while the investigating officer, Captain Gumede, says that on his own opinion, he listens to the voice of the accused, and he's listened to the voice note, well, they sound very similar to him. But there were two witnesses that were called by the defense, and these were people who know Nimmerhoudt quite well, and they said it's not him at all. There's a totally different accent in there as well. But the investigating officer conceded that they still need to get an expert in to analyze the voice note and compare it to a sample that they hope to take from Nimmerhoudt at some time in the future. So it was only in the investigating officer's opinion that it was the voice of Nimmerhoudt. The other aspect, we hear about crime intelligence had come up with this information and led them to Nimmerhoudt. They had managed to get a cell phone number which led them to Nimmerhoudt. We don't know, and it wasn't presented in court and it wasn't asked, what it was that crime intelligence found when they either analyzed that particular voice note that led them to this particular number which is linked to Nimmerhoudt. So that particular aspect wasn't canvassed as well. So at this stage, it doesn't appear like the state has a very, very strong case at all.
Well, that's a bit worrying because, of course, it's meant to be one of the 12 that we're all waiting to hear about, the so-called masterminds. Now, government has claimed the riots, as we know, that they say the riots were well organised and specifically executed. What exactly has the court heard?
Yeah, this is a very important point, and it came at the very end, Sally, and it was in the closing arguments from the state where they were opposing bail, and the prosecutor told the court that there had been several people who'd been arrested around the country for incitement to commit violence linked to these particular riots. And it was the magistrate that questioned the state and said, but I just want to take you up on that aspect. She said, have all these cases been linked together? Have you managed to find evidence to link these individual cases? And the prosecutor said no. Said they've not had the evidence at this stage, or none has come forward to link these particular cases. They appear to be all individuals randomly located. It was after the court proceedings that I spoke to the NPA spokesperson on this particular aspect, and she had this to say.
Well, indeed, with the information that have been gathered up until this point, as the NPA, we have indicated in court that there is no link between Mr. Nimmerhoudt and the other cases of alleged instigators or of incitement to commit public violence. So we don't have such information at this point, but investigations are ongoing, and we cannot preempt what investigations will uncover. But for now, with all the information that we have, we don't have any links between all these 4 alleged instigators that have appeared in various courts in the Gauteng Legal Division.
Very interesting, Barry, as you say, that link is what will be crucial in proving that this was indeed an attempted insurrection, that it was plotted, that it was planned. Does this case continue tomorrow, this bail application?
Sally, has been postponed until Friday, when we'll get a judgment in the bail application.
All right. Well, thank you so much for bringing us the very latest. That was eNCA reporter Barry Bateman. Now, 10 suspects linked to crimes relating to the recent unrest in parts of Durban, including Phoenix, appeared in court earlier today. They were arrested over the weekend. They appeared at the Verulam Magistrates Court. They're facing a number of different charges, including murder and attempted murder. It's understood the matter will be heard privately going forward. The recent unrest saw many lives being lost in Phoenix and, of course, other parts of KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng.
10 people appeared today in the Verulam Magistrates Court relating to the unrest that transpired in the Greater Durban area about 2 weeks ago. The charges include murder, attempted murder, malicious injury to property, possession of stolen goods, as well as unlawful possession of firearms and ammunition. The matters were held in camera to protect the identity of the accused persons, as identity parades are yet to be conducted. The matters were remanded to the 30th of July 2021 for bail consideration.